so excited to be up here talking about money. How great. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the 22-23 budget season. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a preview of the 22-23 budget. This presentation will formally begin the budget presentation process. At the budget calendar and a brief overview, before the school year even begins, we start talking about and engaging in discussions about the next year's budget before that school year even has started in September. In November, the budget calendar is approved by the board and admins are asked to start drafting their ideas on paper. In December, the admins complete the paperwork and we start conversations with each school and department in the district. These conversations are ongoing through January and inform the draft budget. In March, the proposed budget is presented to the board and subsequent budget presentations by school and department are conducted. The board adopts the budget in April, and in May, we have the hearing and the budget vote. The budget is designed around our efforts to actualize our mission. Our mission is to empower all students to thrive as lifelong learners, dynamic thinkers, and compassionate contributing citizens. In addition to that, we try to provide a learning community that has 4 focus areas. The first is academic programs that support students in a rich, differentiated manner that cultivate understanding, creativity, and critical reasoning. We aim to provide a safe and supportive environment. We aim to have students explore individual passions and celebrate their accomplishments. And lastly, provide a school community that has focus on leadership and service. This is what we are trying to do with the budget. In addition to the what, take a look at our how. We have a district goal around our fiscal responsibilities. In that goal, we aim to do 3 things. Look at our fiscal responsibility while maintaining academic excellence and equitable access to learning for each student. We look at providing a transparent budget process that offers opportunities for community input. And lastly, as part of our district goal, we are looking to engage and energize legislative advocacy and community involvement in and awareness of the legislative process. Finally, I want to set this up by what we want our budget to support in terms of the implementation of our strategic plan, which includes 6 strategies. Each strategy requires a substantial amount of time, energy, and those can translate into personnel and resources, which both come with a price tag. For our leadership strand, we're looking at recruiting, retaining, and maintaining a high level of professional staff that is representative of our diverse community and continuously provide professional development to our new staff and our continuing staff. In curriculum, we're looking at adopting curriculum that provides the rich experience for our students in our classrooms, that looks at, again, the cost of things in terms of training folks and providing resources. We're looking at wellness and that we're providing an environment that promotes emotional, social, and physical wellness. This is encompassive personnel, training, and programs to support our wellness strategy. In terms of communication, we're looking at tools that connect and communicate across the entire district. In terms of infrastructure and resources, we're looking to maintain and optimize the district's facilities, equipment, and supplies. Anyone who has a home knows that it can be your money pit. You are constantly keeping up to date with your home. We do that for 3 big buildings and other areas around the village as well. And lastly, we're looking at our partnerships. Again, that requires people to maintain partnerships among schools and the community. So when we look at the totality of our strategic plan and our strategies, this is what we want to accomplish with our budget. So we talked about our why, we talked about our how, and we talked about our what. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Chow, who's going to continue the budget preview.
Thank you. So when we prepare a budget, and also when we start discussing budget, we have to look at the factors that go into a budget. So here we have a chart that shows 3 different colors. I'm not sure you can actually see it. We have yellow, we have pink, we have gray. So the pink are the ones that they are mandates, they are state and federal laws. You know, I'm not going to go through each one individually, but I just want to tell you the categories. So the pink are the mandates that we are required to do. And for example, we are required to provide CSE meetings, and coming out of CSE meetings, there may be some placements, some services. And then also the yellow color is the negotiations. Even though there's only one circle, that probably is actually represent the largest piece of the budget. Later on, when we talk about the budget itself, you will see this piece probably represent close to 75% of our budget. And then the gray part, doesn't show. So there's one gray circle on the right side, there's one on the left side, and they are input from various groups, the internal groups and the external group. So internal group, we have administrations, we have teachers, we have staff. They give us input into building this budget.
Bless you.
And then also,
I just said bless you. I apologize for
oh,
interrupting.
sorry.
We had a sneeze.
Okay. Also, internally, we also have students. I think at the last board meeting, you heard from the student government. They also have given us input, and they continue to give us through working with their administrators, building administrators, and advisors. So we hear from them. And then also from other stakeholders in the community, we hear from them regarding what is important to them, what needs to be in the budget, or what needs to be out of the budget. So after we have put all of that together, we come to the middle circle. A budget is created, and we are working on that. And on March 1st, the superintendent will make a presentation to the community and to the board. So before we talk about the 22-23 budget, let's just go back and review what is this year's budget. So this year's budget, of course, was approved. And so for this year's budget is $53,834,000. And the budget change, there's an increase of 2.05%. And then the tax levy represents a 0.59% increase. Okay, so when we look at the budget categories, this is the expenditure side. This is 21-22 budget. So this is the current year budget. This is what was presented and approved by the voters last May. And I don't know whether you can see the numbers. I think the important part here is the first 2 categories. They are salaries and employee benefits. I always say that the school district is a service industry. So the human resources is the most important piece and represent the largest piece to the budget. And if you look at the salaries and the employee benefits for our school district, the total amount is exceeding 74%, which is the norm for Westchester school districts. And we go to the revenue side. So the important piece here is that if you look at the largest category is the real property taxes, which represent over 71%. This is also the norm for Westchester, a school district in Westchester. they're similar to our school district. And then the second largest category is state aid. You see a little bit down, and that represent close to 16%. And that also is the norm. I think for me, when I first came here, what was different than most other school districts is actually the charges of services. That's the second line. What charges for services represent mostly is tuitions. We do have quite a few tuition students here. Either they are from Mechanical Hills, tuition-paying students, or special ed placement from other school districts. And then also in that category, we have some borderline properties taxes. And then we go to the next slide. So this just gives you a glance of the last 5 school years budget. You know, we have the dollar amount, and then the budget changes, and the tax levy, and the tax levy changes. This is really just a record showing what was happening during the last 5 years. So now we come to the 22-23 budget. So we're in the process of developing, and I can tell you that there are some challenges. And when I say challenges, what that means is that you know, there are some unknowns, and the factors that will impact the budget, either they are unknowns, they're partially known, or will eventually require some estimation. So the first one is the COVID impact, especially in the personnel area. So when I'm talking about the personnel area, we're talking about, you know, this year we have, and especially last year, but this year we actually still continue to have the impact, is that when someone is sick, someone unable to come to work, we had to have substitutes. You know, could be daily substitute, per diem substitute, but could be longer period of time, and also leave replacements. So that is unknown to us. Second item is inflation. So for the calendar year 2021, the total inflation is 4.7%. And I think, you know, seems to some of us, you know, the number is low, but that is the reality. Because I think in the beginning of the year, the inflation was slower, but towards the end of the year, it was really marching forward. And at the end, the inflation rate is 4.7. But now, why is inflation important? Well, one is that we had to buy goods and services, and that is tied to the inflation. The second part is we have to use the inflation number to calculate tax cap. Unfortunately, the tax cap law is that to input into the tax cap, it has to be 2% or CPI, whichever is lower. And in this case, because the inflation is 4.7, so when we use the number to calculate, the CPI number to calculate the tax cap, is going to be 2%. And it's just, that is the law, and that's the number we're going to use, which will impact our tax cap. And the third item is state aid. So why do I say state aid is a challenge? Because the foundation aid did come out, and the entire state aid has been presented through preliminary numbers. But right now, we are not sure the total funding is going to be there. So at this point for me, and I think for the superintendent, we're trying to figure out what is the number eventually we're going to put in the budget. And the last item on this list is the health insurance premium. This is a very interesting topic because I've never experienced this before. I'm never with night shift. So Pleasantville is with night shift, which is the New York State health insurance plan. And you know, our fiscal year is from July 1 through June 30th. Whereas night shift's insurance rate, they go up, the premium is based on calendar year. So it's from January through December. So what I can tell you is that in this year, for the 21-22 budget, our projection was very low. In fact, if you look at last year's budget presentation, this line actually had a decrease. and which I totally understand why we went there. The reason is because night shift had 2 very good years. 1 year was a negative increase, and for last year, the calendar year 2021, it was around 2%. So therefore, when they did the budget for 21-22, the number was pretty low. But the surprise we received is that for this current calendar year, 2022, the premium increase is 12%. So what I'm going to tell you is that for this current year, to close out this year, our health insurance line is going to be short because we underestimated the number. I don't think it was a mistake. You know, it was just a calculation. Just like now, when we are preparing the budget for the next calendar year, we have to, I'm not going to say estimate, we are going to guess what is going to be the number for calendar year 2023. So that's really, to me, is a very big challenge. Okay. So when we prepared this budget, we always look at the factors. You know, what are the numbers we know? What are the numbers we don't know? And so these are the items that we know at this point. That is unknown, sorry. So the known factors. So the first one is we know the projected enrollment. We already projected out the enrollment for 22-23 school year. I can tell you that our projection is that we'll see a very slight decrease in enrollment, about 7 students. So we'll see a reduction in elementary school, a slight decrease in the middle school, but we'll see a good size increase in the high school. And I think you know the 8th grade that is coming up to the 9th grade next year is going to be a very large class. And also, we have an employment contracts for 2 units. And this is the first year of 3-year contract for both the administrators and also for the teacher aides. So these are the known factors. And also we know the employee retirement systems rate is going to be 11.7%. So this is a decrease. However, the employees in this category is a smaller portion of our total employees. That represent about 15% of our total number for salaries. And then also we know the debt service for the next school year. And here I do put down, we do have the preliminary number for state aid. And then also we know the CPI number. And also we know the assessment growth factor. This is the factor that is going to be in the calculation for tax cap. And the last item is the proposition for the middle school HVAC project. I think for most people, you can recall that in December we had a presentation on this project, and you know, the board hasn't taken action, but at this point we plan to go forward with this proposition. And then the next group are the unknown impact items. So the first item is the contracts for 3 bargaining units. So this is the year that we need to bargain with the teachers group, the CSEA group. CSEA represents the custodial staff and also the support staff. And then also the nurses group. So these are the 3 groups that we are in negotiations. And then also another item is the special education placements. Now is the time that the special education department, they are going through the CSE meetings. So this is the time to determine in-district placements and then out-of-district placements. And then the next category is the tuition students. Here, we're talking about the parental placements, those who do not live in our school district, but they want to place their students in our high school. So that will have an impact on our revenue. And then also the Mechanical Hills students coming to our school district. The next category is the TRS, the Teacher Retirement System, the pension. At this point, we don't know the number, but we know the range is going to be 10% to 10.5%. For current year, the 21-22 is 9.8%. So this represents an increase. even though it's not a large increase, but this group represents the largest part of our salary, about 85%. And it's probably over $20 million. So any percentage increase is going to have an impact on the budget. And the last unknown is the tax cap. We are in calculation of the tax cap, but we don't have all the information yet. But we have a deadline on March 1st to report. So we definitely will have it when we present the superintendent's budget. Okay, so we also have 3 propositions on the 22-23 budget ballots. The first one is the budget itself. And the second item is the establishment of the Capital Reserve Fund. I don't know when you recall, back in November, the board already took action on this item, and this item is going to be on the ballot in May. And then also the Pleasantville Middle School HVAC capital bond, that will be on the ballot. So what are our next steps? So what we need to continue to do, and that's what we are doing right now, is to resolve all the unknowns, and we need to finalize all the personnel part, and we'll still continue to meet with the administrators. We already met in December. That was one thing that Mary wanted to do before she leaves, to meet with all the schools and all the departments, which Tina and I, we completed that, but we still need to finalize personnel. And then also, very important thing is we also need to identify additional savings, see where we can save money. And then we need to finalize the budget. And on March 1st, the superintendent will present her first budget. So here are our presentations. So this looks a little bit different from prior years, but we thought that this is a good process. So we start with the budget preview. So you see a check mark. We are completing that today. And then on March 1st, we'll have the superintendent's proposed budget. And on March 15th, we will have the 3 schools present their budgets. And then on March 29th, we'll produce the instructional budget, special education, technology, and athletics. And then on April 5th, we'll present the non-instructional budget. That includes the O&M budget and all the other non-instructional budgets, and the revenues, the tax cap, and contingency budget. And on April 19th, we'll ask the board to adopt the budget. And then on May 3rd, we'll have a public hearing on the budget. And on May 17th, we'll have the budget vote and the school board election. So that concludes our presentation for the budget preview. And personally, I want to thank the parents for staying, because we prepared a budget for your children.
And then you have a separate O&M, I assume that means maintenance.
Yes, operations and maintenance.
Operations and maintenance. So the high school budget is just class? What is, the operation and maintenance budget is completely separate from the individual building
That's right.
budgets?
So that budget will be presented by Steve Chamberlain. So he will talk about what is in his budget.
Got it.
So it could be personnel and also contractual, everything that is in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I had a small
School
question.
level budget talks about the staffing and the salaries
That's what I thought.
and to really
And the programs they
support
have.
the program,
Right.
yeah, that, support the programs in each of the buildings.
When do we know about the Pecanico, the enrollment from Pecanico? When does that happen?
It's happening now.
It's happening now?
Yes,
Okay.
we
So
are
shortly.
hearing numbers, but it's not final.
Okay. Just wondering what time. Thanks.
But, that is a large number. We always have a large group of students coming from.
We don't always.
Yeah.
We've had years where we've gotten
Very few.
2, 3,
I think last year was a light year. I forget.
yeah.
If you
It
include-
really does vary quite,
Yeah,
There's a difference between high school and then special education.
right.
If you
Yes,
look at the
that's
whole
it.
thing, it's a large number typically.
Pardon me?
If you look at the whole thing, it tends to be a larger number.
True.
Outside of high school.
True.
Right.
I thought your question was more about the
No, I understand.
Mechanical
It was,
students
yeah.
choosing
Mhm.
to,
That's what I meant.
right,
yeah.
because in addition to that, we have special ed students, not just from Mechanical, but other school districts that fill in to our programs, so.
So our tuition represent over $4 million, which is a
Mhm.
large amount.
Yeah.
And also, you know, when you look at the students from Botanical Hills, you know, usually when they come, they will stay for 4 years.
Mhm.
So what we always look at is incoming group versus the outgoing group.
Right.
And I think Tina already received the message that this year is going to be a positives
Mhm.
number.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.